The following podcast is rated D for dumb. You're listening to Dumbing It Down with Dave, the fastest podcast on earth. Listen to Dave commute to and from work on the New York State Thruway in his 2008 Kia Rio LX. He talks about pragmatism, truth, happiness, and the search for it all. Join Dave as he asks and tells you how life ought to be. And now, here's Dave.
Woo! Woo! The Nature Boy, Dave Kanyan. And I'm recording this for my Dumbcast, so I have to talk into this phone real quick and tell everybody, you're listening to Dave Kanyan on, what are you calling the show? The Deplorable Radio?
Jason Smith's Deplorable Radio Show.
Jason Smith's Deplorable Radio. Excellent. All right, so it's me and Jason Smith, and I'm going to put my phone down. Hopefully it'll record. And there you go. I'm here. I made it. Oh, my. Wow.
Dave is simulcasting this episode on his own show. That's
Simul-recording.
Awesome. Simul-recording.
Yeah, something like that. All right. We'll see how it goes. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
That'd be great if it does. I'm happy to be a part of your show. I've been listening for the past month and a half or so. Ever since you texted me and let me know about it.
Yes.
I think I missed the first 50 episodes.
Probably. Which is probably you're better off.
But yeah. I did go back. I listened to a couple here and there. And it's a great show. It's
Thank
a
you.
great podcast.
Thank you.
Where did you come up with the idea? The idea of this podcast is you record, basically you rant on what's going on in the world.
Somewhat. My world, the world, either way.
Your world, the world,
right.
While you're driving to work or to home from work.
Right, the fastest podcast on earth. As I recorded in my Kia Rio, my 2008 Kia Rio, on the way to and from work between Saugerties and Rensselaer, New York.
So what made you come up with this idea of recording while you're driving? And is it dangerous?
Yes, I'm taking a great risk providing entertainment for the world. Absolutely. And I should get a lot of credit for that. One day there'll be a trophy for the greatest risk ever taken by a podcaster. It is a little dangerous, but I'm a professional driver. So, don't do this at home, obviously because you'd be driving in your kitchen and that'd be stupid. No, I've been doing this for a long, I'm a professional driver. I've been driving for 30 years. I'm 53 years old. I know how to do two things at once, so it's no big deal. What prompted me to do this, what inspired me was I have a very busy schedule, as you know, somewhat. I have a very busy schedule. I work 5 days a week, 16-hour days. I don't have time to go home and go, okay, now I'm going to do this. I just don't have that time, which is one of the reasons why I don't do stand-up comedy anymore, because I just can't go to open mics. I can't put in the time that's necessary. The beauty, and I by the way, for the listeners locally that are listening, or even if you're listening online, I used to have a show here at WGXC. And I had to quit that because it's just too time-consuming. Everything is just time-consuming. So what I decided to do is find out when do I have time. When I have time is in the commute between my house and my work. That's the only time I really have. And with Spreaker, I can talk into my phone. I don't need any special equipment. I have not done anything special other than talking into my phone. And I can do a podcast for just, a few pennies a month, a little bit more than that. But I know you can't do commercials. It doesn't matter. It's a very low cost way of doing, broadcasting, on a podcast. Otherwise, you know what I'm doing? I'm doing what I normally do. Just talk to myself like a crazy person. So it's interesting. As long as you have a phone in your hand, you have credibility.
Nice. You did mention a previous show that you did right here at WGXC. It was called Dumbing It Down with Bob at the time. Yes. And I always wondered who the hell is Bob.
Yeah, poor Bob.
You're Dave.
Yeah. Well, poor Bob. He met his demise. I think he choked on a waffle or something like that at the Waffle House in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Nice guy, and he was nice enough to turn over his show to me before he left. But
and the funny thing about that show is this show, Jason Smith's Deplorable Radio Show, wouldn't exist without that one.
Right.
Because you had me on as a guest one time.
Yes.
And I liked the station on Facebook because you had me on as a guest. So I wanted to follow what was going on with the station.
Yeah.
And it was because of following them on Facebook that I saw a post that said that they were accepting applications for new shows.
Yes.
And
yes.
Here I am.
Yes.
So it's all thanks to you.
Look at that. Isn't that great? I have that effect on people. I do something, then people do something with me, and then they move on to better things. And I'm sitting there going, what happened? Where did I go wrong? But by the way, to WGXC, to the people, the staff, this studio looks very clean and very redone or something. It looks white. Well, the table's new.
I believe they're under new management since your show was on.
It's fantastic. Well, whoever's listening, it looks great. I'm just very impressed with whatever I'm seeing right now. It looks a lot cleaner and a lot more professional than it was a couple years ago. Not that it was bad a couple of years ago, but I remember they had just really first started when I got here. I was like the second wave. They called it the new blood when I signed up.
Uh-huh.
I was part of the new blood. I don't know what you're part of.
I don't know.
You're part of it, just some sort of intravenous trickle or something like that.
A drip. Come in here once a month and just pray you don't have technical difficulties. Which, by the way, this is the first episode I haven't had any difficulties.
Yes, I heard the transition. 1,000 promos at the top of the hour until you figure it out.
About 2 minutes of promo.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine.
I went through their files and I looked at ones that I thought were interesting. Yes. What's that Gamers one?
Yes.
Game Hoarders.
Game Hoarders.
I saw that on the list. I was like, all right, I got to play that.
Yeah, they weren't here when I was here. But you did a great job, and you sound great on the radio. You sound great on Route 9, I can tell you that. You have a perfect voice for Route 9. As I was tailgating, by the way, and texting you, Nature Boy, Ric Flair, of course, the greatest wrestler of all time.
I mentioned don't tailgate people because the other day I saw that they're planning on making it a law where you have to completely clean off your car because you might hit the car behind you with some ice or something.
Yeah.
Well, if the car behind you isn't that close to you, they don't have to worry about it.
Right. You shouldn't be tailgating. Shouldn't do anything I just did in the last hour and 10 minutes from Rensselaer, New York. Well, and it's always funny. Every time I'm late, because I'm a chronic procrastinator. That's just my curse. I'm always behind the car that's so slow that the car in front of it can't be seen. It's always the story. I'm always saying to myself, if I could just get in front of this guy, I won't be late. I just got to be in front of this guy. And I never get in front of him. And by the time I do, it's like, remember that movie Truman with Jim Carrey?
Yes, the Truman Show.
Yeah, Truman Show, right. So one car would pull off into the driveway and the next car would just come right in.
Right.
That's my life. It's like, who cued that car? Don't cue the car. Stay put. And it's very frustrating.
I came down from pretty much the same area. I drove down from East Greenbush this morning. And
9J?
Yeah.
9J?
Yeah.
Beautiful road. I love it.
I was on 91st.
Oh.
And traffic was a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting any traffic today, and it was heavy traffic.
People should stay home.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to
Stay home unless you have a radio show or you're a guest on a radio show.
Yes. Unless you can take your kids sledding. That's a rite of passage. You got to go sledding at some point.
My parents actually called me this morning twice because they were trying to talk me out of doing the show. I don't think it's because of you. I think it was because of the weather.
I can't speak to their, to what they're thinking. But yes, no. I texted my son who works at the same facility I do.
Oh.
And so he's got to commute from Saugerties tonight. And I texted him, I give you permission to not go to work today. I didn't think I would ever have that text, to send. But it's, listen, nothing's that important. In fact, my company should be closing. They should just be closing.
I'm pretty sure I will be calling in for my Monday to Friday job tomorrow morning.
There you go. Yeah, so don't worry about it. So how you been, man? It's great to see you. Jason Smith.
All right.
Does everybody on the show know that you do or you have done stand-up or what?
I probably have 3 listeners out there, and I know them all by name. But,
yeah, right.
But yeah, I've explained in previous episodes that I'm a stand-up comedian, although I've been kind of on hiatus for the same reason you haven't been doing it. Yeah. Just too busy. I've done a little acting here and there. I've done a couple commercials.
Oh, good. Me too. I didn't know about that.
It was forever ago.
Oh, that was forever ago? But you have a lot of, I was thinking about this earlier. You have a lot of forever ago credits.
That's true.
And you have a lot of forever ago footnotes. And I love that coining the phrase forever ago. That's good. I don't know how you spell it, but forever ago.
The newest thing, and it seems like it's been forever ago because it's been a couple weeks since I've been able to make it out there, but I've been actually going to professional wrestling school.
Yes. While you're listening to my podcast on the Mass Pike. I love it.
I listen to Dumbing It Down with Dave.
I got to mention you. We're going to talk about that on my podcast. You're going to come up one day in my podcast. So tell me about wrestling school. What did you tell me? You told me I'm learning how to pretend how to hurt people without hurting people.
Something like that.
That's great. I love it. That's great.
And learn how to look like I'm getting hurt while hopefully not getting hurt.
Yes. That's great. Well, you're following. Is that a dream of yours?
It's always been kind of a dream of mine. I know at my age right now I can't expect
You're not a top rope guy. You're not a high flyer?
I might be able to do that. I haven't really tried. I've jumped off the second rope.
Okay, the baby rope. You're like on the bunny hill of wrestling.
But I can't expect the WWE to come calling me.
No, not right now. Not right now. So all you are is you're learning. Are you in a class with other people, the same people, or how does that work?
There's a school out in Massachusetts that I've been going to.
Yeah, tell us all about wrestling school. That's great.
And a friend of mine who's just starting to break into Ring of Honor Wrestling. It's probably the biggest professional wrestling company in the country if you don't count WWE.
Right. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, he goes out to that school once a week or twice a week, whatever it is, to work out and train.
Right.
And he said, hey, if you want to come out here and learn some moves, feel free. So I've been coming out once a week. Last week he was hurt. I think he got hurt in a match. And the week before, there was some kind of weather issue. So I haven't been able to make it for a couple of weeks now. But it's been fun the weeks that I have gone.
Are you, I mean, I don't mean to pry, but you paying for this?
No.
Because the way you just said it was like, yeah, just come on out.
Yeah,
that's great. You just come on out. You go in. They have like wrestling shoes and tights. Or what do you have your get up yet? Your gimmick?
I don't have like my official gear for if I ever get to the point where I'm ready to debut.
Right.
but I mean I work out in workout shorts. I have actual wrestling shoes.
Really?
Yeah.
Great.
Adidas wrestling shoes.
Excellent. Those are great.
And a t-shirt. And the last time I was out there, I actually wrestled my first full-length match with another student. And
really?
It was probably the worst wrestling match of all time.
Yeah. Do they record it for you? I'd love to see what that looks like.
No, they didn't record that one.
How long was the match?
It was probably about 5 minutes. It felt like 20 minutes.
Yeah. So you have very little experience, and the guy you wrestle, how much experience did he have?
I think he's had a couple actual matches on shows.
Wow.
Over the past year, but he's very new too.
You were his jobber. Your job was to make him look good, right?
Yeah.
Was there an outcome at the end of this 5 minutes?
The funny thing is the outcome was we ended with a double knockout.
Okay, that's nice.
Like
that's nice.
I had beat him down, and when I told you that I had jumped off the second rope. I had him beaten down, and I went up to the second rope, and I'm like, it's over, and I jumped down, and he kicked me in the face, so I went down, and
nice count out.
Yeah.
And now, are there referees? Are they in training too? I figured everybody's in training.
Usually, another wrestler will take turns.
Okay, because these matches do need referees.
Yeah.
When they actually show up at a church or whatever, at a community center, right? Ring of Honor does that, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah. So there must be referees. See, I figure you for a manager type, like the Grand Wizard.
But the funny thing is, I used to go to professional wrestling school a couple of years ago. That's how I made this contact that's training out there.
I'd love to go.
And I was going to that school specifically to be a manager because I figured...
That's you, man. You're a manager.
Well, I think I have that skill from stand-up comedy, dealing with people, getting people a little... angry.
Yeah. I
think I'd be good at that. And then, once in a while, take a move from the good guy so that the crowd goes.
Right. You wouldn't be the face, which is the good guy. You'd be
the heel.
The heel. Yeah. Right. Jason, you got a heel written all over you.
But over the past couple of years, I've been thinking about getting back into it.
Yeah.
And this opportunity came around, and I'm like, if I'm going to get back into it, I want to be in the action.
Yeah.
I want to be doing it.
Wow. So you got to drive out to Springfield, Mass. That's like a 2-hour drive or an hour and a half.
Holyoke, but Springfield.
Holyoke. I know where it is.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a whole donut out there. It's not part of your regiment in your training, but there's a whole donut in Holyoke. It's delicious. That's my truck driving.
Whole donut. Do you remember the one in Catskill?
Yes, it's the same franchise.
Really? I didn't know that was
This one doesn't have mice and vermin. Yeah, this one's clean. There's a story that goes with it. I'm not going to tell you the story, but it's in an old Dunkin' Donuts building. And one day I didn't have... Well, I guess I am going to tell you the story. They only take cash. I didn't have cash. I had a credit card. And they had an ATM machine. And the ATM, they charge like $5 to take out $2. It's one of those wacky ATM machines because they don't take credit card. They only take cash. So I said, I just want 2 sugar donuts. I'm not going to spend $5, So the lady said, hold on a second. She said, what do you want? I said, I just want the sugar donuts. She gives me 2 sugar donuts. And then she puts it in a bag. She goes, don't worry about it. I'm like, oh, wow. That is so nice. And, that was back in my really heavy eating everything in sight days, really depressed, really tired, really, everything. And I think she might have even thrown a cup of coffee. I mean, that's so nice of her, the whole donut in Holyoke, if it's still there.
I do want to say that you look like you're in much better shape than the last time I saw you.
Yes.
Did you run a marathon in the last couple of years?
Only half marathons. Yes, 2013 was my peak year. I ran the Manhattan half, the Brooklyn half, and the Staten Island half. I ran 3 half. I was doing a lot of 10Ks. I was doing great, but I had a job that enabled me, afforded me the time to do all that. I was very dedicated. I went from 290 something down to 225. And I was doing great. I was on my way to 190, 180, 170. And then I got this job, and now I'm making plenty of money, but I just don't have no time. So since December 4th, I've been on a 7-day challenge, diet. Like every 7 days, that's all I'm doing. I'm not worried about 14 days, 30 days. I'm just doing 7 days at a time. So every 7 days, I reaffirm or I reset myself. So basically, I've been doing no coffee. Is this interesting? I've been doing no coffee since December 4th.
Wow.
Because
I can't do that.
Yeah, I know, right? It's very hard. But by the way, people say that so many things. I can't do that. But I tell you this, Jason, you can do anything for 7 days. That's the logic. You can do anything for 7 days. And if the logic is you can do anything for 7 days, you can do anything for 8 days. Or you can do anything for 7 days, reset, and then again, you can do anything for 7 days. Don't look at it as 14, 21, 28, 30, like 3 months. Don't look at it like that. 7 days at a time. You can do 2 push-ups a day for 7 days in a row. You can. And that would be good for you, right? Yeah. So it's just that philosophy. When we were doing comedy, you can write 1 joke a day. You can write 1 thing a day for 7 days. I never dedicated myself to that, but I should have. I didn't. But so that's the thing. So there's a lot of things I could talk about, but so every 7 days I just have this thing and now it's been since December 4th.
And you recently, I know you talked about it on a 2-parter on your podcast. You walked the length of the New York City Marathon.
I walked 26 miles.
26 miles.
In Manhattan with my friend Lee, who's also my running mentor. He's my health and fitness mentor and my life coach in a way. My friend Lee out in California, San Diego. Yeah, we walked 26 miles. We knew we were going to walk. We always walk when we get to. He lives in San Diego, so when he comes to visit, we walk. So we've walked 12 miles. We never really tracked it with Map My Run, which is an app,
Right.
But this time we just had a nice day, a little windy, and we just walked down the west side of Manhattan, all the way from like West 90th Street or whatever, all the way down the west side, all the way to Battery Park. We got on the ferry, which doesn't count. We took the Staten Island ferry, got off the ferry, walked up the east side, went across the Brooklyn Bridge, and then we had to go to a Starbucks because we both had to go to the bathroom. So we went to Starbucks. By the way, every Starbucks has a bathroom. That's a very important thing to know. Wherever there's a Starbucks, there's a bathroom, and they don't lock them like McDonald's. Manhattan, all the McDonald's, they lock the bathrooms because the homeless like to take care of business in there. But the Starbucks, they don't have homeless, I guess. So it's good to know when you're walking Manhattan, you got to go to the bathroom. Find a Starbucks, should be okay. So anyway, then we walked to Williamsburg from Dumbo, which is the end of Brooklyn Bridge. Anyway, It's a long story. And then we ate at Peter Luger's, which was nice. We had a very expensive hamburger. Then we went across the Williamsburg Bridge. Then we went up we went up Broadway. We stopped and we saw Vernon Payne.
Oh,
we met with Vernon Payne.
Yeah,
Union Square.
If he was still in the area, I'd love to get him on the show.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll come back up here.
Yeah, he comes up. And then so anyway, we walked and walked and walked. By the end of the day, it was like, wow, we did 26 miles. By the time I got to my car, at the end of the day, I got to my car. I did 26 miles, and I got to tell you, it felt great. It didn't feel like anything, actually. It didn't feel great. It didn't feel like anything. And it rained a lot. You see my pictures of the Williamsburg Bridge I posted?
Yes.
Yeah, it rained towards the end. We got wet. But it was fun because it's New York, and I'm 53, and walking is easy.
And you're with a friend, and
we talk.
Probably makes the miles go by.
We talk and talk and talk. He's a great guy to talk to. And anybody could walk 26 miles a day. It's just don't think about it, And drink every couple of miles. Have a drink, We had some drinks.
I've been...
Thanks for noticing, by the way.
Oh, yes. I've been going to the gym myself since I started back up in wrestling school.
Right.
And I've been going almost every day, maybe 4 or 5 times a week.
Excellent. Machines and all that?
Machines, treadmill, everything. And
you go to the Planet?
Planet, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
do you grunt? No grunting.
No grunting.
No grunting. No.
They'll throw you off.
Yeah. They press the button, that red thing goes off.
Yeah, the long
yeah. Oh, it's so annoying.
So about 2 weeks ago, I took a cheat day because I've also been kind of watching what I eat.
Yes, good for you.
Cheat day turned into a cheat weekend.
Oh yeah, okay.
Turned into a cheat couple of weeks, and yesterday was.
Oh no.
Yeah, yesterday I hit the gym for the first time in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Which felt great.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm setting all these goals for myself now. I ran 6 miles on the treadmill, and I'm like, oh,
wow.
I'll be ready for the Boston Marathon next year.
Wow.
I'll probably forget that within a week, but I mean, I'd seriously like to try that sometime.
6 miles. That's great. Yeah. That's good for you. I never even figured
it was 2 separate runs. It was like 3.5 miles on one run.
And you jumped on somebody else's treadmill when they sort of got off. I just inherit these miles. It's the same thing. Well, good for you. I never even figured you for athletic at all. I never figured you.
Really? I was an athlete in high school. I mean, I didn't play football or basketball. But
you were running away from Mike Tyson.
I was on the track team.
Really?
Running long distance races.
We've never had this conversation. You should do radio shows more often. We'll get to know each other. Well, I mean, when we were at Duke's and we were doing stand-up, we didn't have these conversations.
Yeah, I was a long distance runner. I came in first in a bunch of 2-mile races.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Excellent, man. I would love to go to wrestling school. I mean, like you said when I was in the car tailgating on the way here, you mentioned about me being a wrestling fan. Yeah, I go back to Bruno Sammartino. Oh, yeah. I go back to Tony Gurria and Dean Ho. So,
do you think Bruno's the greatest champion of all time? He held the title 11 years
for length, because you mentioned John Cena with the 16-time winner, which also means he was a 16-time loser. Right. So Bruno was a great champion. It was a totally different wrestling situation then. I mean, he was so subdued, and you would never see him during the week. He only wrestled at the Garden. He only did the big shows. Now, you got Cena's always out there. Hulk used to be out there. The Rock would be out there. These guys are working. And they're doing movies. Bruno never did a movie or anything like that. It all depends on your criteria. Bruno was a great champion for me. He was very simple. You go, Vince, let me tell you, I'm training very hard. What's his name? Superstar Billy Graham is a good competitor. He was like that. Yeah, he's very subdued and all that. And he's probably a great guy. So for me, he's a great champion. But I'm not a compare guy. I don't do that with any sports. I don't do that with comedians. Everybody's doing that with comedy. Compare Carlin to Pryor, and I don't do all that.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to compare a guy from the 70s to a guy from the 2000s and teens. Yeah, whatever this is.
And I got to tell you, back then, I was ready when Bruno was phasing him out and they were bringing in Larry Zbyszko. I was ready to crown Larry Zbyszko. Yeah, he'll be a great champion too. But I didn't know he was going to turn heel. And then when Bobby Backlund became champion, he was just as subdued and dull as Bruno Sammartino. I was like, okay, I'll support Bob Backlund. I was into whatever they gave me. I was like, okay, I'll buy into that.
And they brought in Hulk Hogan, and that ushered in like a whole cartoon.
Yeah, that became you got insane.
Ultimate Warrior. And
it got really insane. But the Valiant Brothers used to be kind of cartoonish. There was some cartooning going on. There was some crazy stuff going on, but it was Channel 9 and or Channel 47. I used to have to watch wrestling on UHF. Try that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was great. 47, Patterson, New Jersey. Channel 47. Yeah, it was great. Channel 41 was California wrestling.
Oh.
Yeah, we used to watch Pampero Flirpo from I don't remember the name of the California arena, but we used to watch the California wrestlers. That's where I first saw Mil Mascaras. Or Mil Mascaras. I don't know.
Legendary Mil Mascaras.
Yeah. With some great and Jimmy Lennon was the announcer. Jimmy Lennon. I can't do what I can't do. But if you look back, and his son now became an announcer. Jimmy Lennon died. It's kind of like Frank Perdue and the next Perdue. They kind of all, that father and son announcer thing. So, yeah, those are good times. I enjoyed wrestling. Bobo Brazil. Well, do you want to go down that road? Just start throwing out names. Bobo, you remember Bobo Brazil? You're too young for that.
I remember the name. I can't.
Oh, it was great.
Picture
what we didn't have that I remember are those local shows that they have now, because it was pretty much WWE was everywhere. The Sunnyside Gardens in Queens. Who knows where Sunnyside Gardens was? I never went to that. It was the Garden. The show you wanted to go to was the Garden, Madison Square Garden. That was like a Monday once a month. That was regular, but nobody would ever take me. I never went to one.
Back in the 80s, WWE or WWF at the time, they would wrestle like high school gymnasiums.
Wow.
I remember my parents telling me that they went to a show, I think it was at the Catskill High School.
Could be.
They saw Bob Backlund, Tony Atlas, like all
Tony
the
Atlas,
names in the Catskill High School.
Do you remember Johnny Rods?
I do.
He was my favorite. Never won. One day he came up in the ring and he actually had a glittery jacket. I go, oh, look at Johnny Rods. He's got a glittery jacket. Maybe he'll start winning because he was in great shape. He was a great wrestler. He was a great wrestler.
I know he's going on to train a bunch of good wrestlers.
I would love to meet Johnny Rods. I don't know what I would say to him. It's such a weird thing to say as a 53-year-old white man. I would love to meet Johnny Rods. Why? Why would I love him? What am I going to say to him? I used to watch you lose every week, and you were the greatest loser ever.
You were great at making those other guys look good.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, there is a sort of conversation in that. If you want to have that conversation, the interesting thing is, why did he have to lose every week? He was in good shape. Do you remember his physique? I mean, he wasn't Tony Atlas, but Tony Atlas was a bore. He was a big, and muscle-bound guys in wrestling usually are not very good. You got to be flexible. Johnny Rodz was technically a great wrestler, and he had great physique. Maybe he just wasn't a good promo guy or something. I don't know what his story was.
Could be.
Because, if you're not a good promo guy, that's not good. If you want to explain promo to the audience, I don't know, how far you want to go with that.
Promo is just basically talking on the mic.
Like we're doing. Yeah. So, who's a horrible promo guy is Brock Lesnar. He's a horrible promo guy, right? Yeah. And who's the guy that...
That's why they have managers, though. Brock Lesnar has probably the greatest manager of this time period.
Right.
Paul Heyman talking for him.
Yeah. I'm not a Paul Heyman fan, but yeah, he is, I guess, one of the best. And the other guy is bad. He's no longer in wrestling. I think he also lost his mind. The Hammer, Valentine.
Oh, yeah.
Never talk. Right. I couldn't even begin to tell you what he sounds like. He would never talk. He'd come in, pummel, and get out. It's like pummel.
Yeah, I remember him. I remember him being part of a tag team with the Honky Tonk Man.
It's quite possible. Yes.
I think they were Rhythm and Blues.
Yeah, right. They look a little bit alike, too, with the blonde hair and the black. Yeah, that's kind of funny, yeah.
They had Jimmy, Mouth of the South, Hart speaking for them.
Oh, the Mouth of the
So
South.
if you can't speak in wrestling, they'll find somebody who
can speak for you. And it works fantastically. Vince has got it all under control. It's great. I am a big wrestling fan. And I tell you, Vince McMahon, without a doubt, even if you've already shut off the show because you don't want to talk, you don't listen about wrestling, and now I'm going to somehow send this information to you, from my brain to your brain. You got to respect Vince McMahon for taking this dung heap, this goo, whatever, this unrealistic, this ridiculous heap of dung, and then just marketing it, and it's international. And it works every time, everywhere. It's just amazing. He's like Barnum and Bailey, this guy. He's like, he's the number one guy.
This reminds me of a recent political conversation I had.
Yes, really?
Let's isolate us from some of the listeners.
Okay,
right now.
Let's do it. It's a half hour. We might as well just,
I was defending a cabinet choice of President Trump. He chose Linda McMahon to be the minister of small businesses, which I defended because when her and her husband Vince took over the WWE,
yes, I remember,
it was worth like $10.
Yes, it was nothing.
It's worth billions now.
Billions.
Who better to be in charge of small business?
Well, by the way, is that a real position, or is that like the chairman of WWE? Like everybody,
as long as she had to be sworn in by the Senate, and
she has to be sworn in by the Senate. That's real. As long as
There was a video going around that showed Triple H sitting in the front row because that's her son-in-law.
Is Triple H going to be at the Senate hearings, the Senate confirmation hearings? That's funny. So that's great. Yeah, of course, that's a great choice.
So I'm all for her. I know you're a Trump guy because I listen to Dumbing It Down with Dave.
Yes. Well, let me be clear.
Okay.
During the primaries, I was not so much a Trump guy. I wasn't anti-Trump. I'm never anti-anybody because really, at the end of the day, what does it matter to me? And I don't have any. I have my own world. I have my own agenda. I was really more of a Bernie guy.
Yeah.
Until he said out loud in the very first debate where he just gave it to Hillary, he said, I don't want to talk about these damn emails anymore. Who cares about the emails? As soon as he said that, I said, it's over.
Yeah.
You just gave it to her. You just bailed on all your political aspirations. And then at the end of it, where he did lose to Hillary like months later, and then he said, I throw my support to, you know what? Bernie, you should have just stayed in it. And I thought the message was not so much for him to win, but to establish a third-party legitimacy. All those kids that supported him, all these people that really rallied, he broke their hearts. And then I didn't like him giving in like that. He should have stayed. Hillary, whatever. That's So yeah, I guess we just alienated everybody, or at least have your audience. So yes. So I'm sorry to take over, but so now absolutely Trump. Whatever it was ABH, anybody but Hillary.
Right. Yes. That's kind of how I felt about the whole thing. I did play the disclaimer at the beginning of the show.
Right.
Views and opinions expressed on the show don't represent WGXC.
Right.
I felt the same way. I didn't think Bernie had a chance.
No, of course not.
I liked the guy, but I didn't think he had a chance right from the beginning.
Right. Third parties never do.
Right.
But this year he could have given it credibility Look how old he is. Look how vibrant he was. Look at the money he raised. And Hillary at the end was collapsing. Yeah. That would have been, who knows what would have happened. By the way, we could have said the same thing about Donald Trump 2 years ago. Never going to run. Never going to make a serious run. Who would ever think he would destroy 16 other...
When he announced his run, I didn't think it was going to last. I thought he'd drop out before the primary.
Right. And the very first press conference, the very first speech where he said, we're keeping the rapists out, whatever, that thing he said, I go, oh, I can't believe he just said that. At the very first, he's not even trying to be subdued. I said, oh, he's out. But every week he just annihilated these 16 guys.
There were weeks where it seemed like he was trying to lose.
Yes. I'm sitting there going, yeah, this is crazy. He's doing everything he can possibly to lose. You're right. And guys just kept on dropping out. It's kind of like wrestling.
Have you lost a lot of Facebook friends over this election?
I don't know. No, because I haven't. No, the answer is no. I would like to. It would be great. I wish people would leave me alone. Yes. I've lost Facebook friends way before this election. So, but thank you for helping me coin the phrase Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's getting easy and easy to say.
I love how you call it Facebook.
Well, it's what it is. It's totally fake.
If it wasn't for things like this show and, when I was doing comedy more and had to promote shows... Yeah. If it wasn't for this stuff, I probably wouldn't be on Facebook.
Yeah, I have no need.
It's the
dumbest thing ever. Yeah. I was off of it for a while. I don't know if you remember. When I dropped out of comedy, I dropped out of Facebook. I was I don't need this anymore. It's just, there's nothing there for me. All my friends are people who I talk to.
Right.
And they drop in on me. I drop in on them. I call them. They call me. I text them. They text me. I have no friends on Facebook. There's no real, that's not really where it's at.
I think Facebook actually...
Now we're alienating all the fake books.
has like a negative effect on that type of friendship where you text people, because you can just go on your Facebook screen and see what your friend is up to. You don't even have to call them or text them and say, hey, what are you up to?
Yeah, the art of conversation is slowly getting lost, and the art of actually doing what we're doing, this face-to-face thing.
Right.
But that's, that's sad, and it's going to get worse and worse. So, so anyway, Did we finish the whole Trump thing? Yeah. So I now am a supporter. I mean, listen. When I say I'm a supporter, people go, "How could you do that?" Let me explain something to you. I don't do anything. Right. I just say the words. I support them.
I thought you brought up a very good point on your most recent episode, which I listened on my way here today.
Oh, I support the band. Right. Thank you very much. Episode 56, by the way.
In your lifetime, there hasn't been a president that's affected you.
Right.
Directly.
My contention is, and I say this, thank you very much for bringing it up. You're a good host. This show's going to do very well. I have a lot of hope for you. If you don't get famous in wrestling, this is going to work out for you, absolutely. And by the way, why can't you do both? Why not? The Rock does a couple things. You should, think about your website and all that stuff. You need to get on that. You need to start marketing yourself.
I should promote this a little more.
A little bit more, yeah. We'll talk about it. So anyway, episode 56, Dumbing It Down with Dave. You can find it on dumbingitdownwithdave.com or go to Spreaker and search. I have an app now. I have 2 apps.
Yes,
I
downloaded it.
Yeah, is that great? I have an app. I can't believe I got an app. I have an Android app and I have an iPhone app. So just put in Dumbing It Down with Dave. So yeah, episode 56, I support the band. My contention is that since 1969, I was 6 years old. That's my first consciousness of a president. Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, whatever. Just go down the list. I actually made a Facebook post about it. My whole life is really, when it comes down to, for me, this is just for me, Dave Kanyan, I got to go to work and then I go home. I take care of my wife and my son. I've been doing this now for almost 30 years. Well, my wife would be married for 30 years, I think, this year. I think this year's our 30th anniversary. Might be our 31st. I don't even remember. I gotta look it up. I gotta go find the certificate. It's somewhere in the annals of our.
Hope she's not listening.
Oh, I'm sure she is. Yeah. So only when I say stupid things she listens. When I say the brilliant things, I go, "Did you listen?" And go, "I don't know how to get it. I don't know. What is that? Which button do I press?" Oh, I said something really funny. Or whatever. So anyway, but my contention is that my life is affected by pretty much one thing: my income.
Right. I
need to work. I need to pay for all these things. Whatever they're going to vote on, whether it's abortion, Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court, whether it's gay rights, civil rights, whatever they're doing, it never seems to affect me directly. I do make that disclaimer. Probably I'm naive and idealistic. It affects me indirectly. But everything I've ever bought, everything I've ever sold, everything I've ever done is because of my hard work, my labor, and my determination to make things happen. Not because the government they're not assisting me. I'm never... this is a little controversial. I'm never poor enough. I'm never black enough. I'm never in a rural area enough. I'm not Jewish enough. Whatever it is, I'm just never enough of what it takes to get the assistance I need. Okay. And I've needed assistance. I've needed heat assistance. I've needed I almost went bankrupt years ago before you even met me. But you know what? I've worked. I never did claim bankruptcy. I had a business that failed. I just worked and worked. I've had 2 jobs, 3 jobs. I've cleaned porta potties. I've delivered pizza. Jason, if like you told me about your track thing, I didn't know you were an athlete. If I showed you my resume, my wife always says, God, your resume is ridiculous. It is just part-time job, full-time job, it is just job after job after job. It's just insane. I've done almost everything. I've done, pest control. I've done courier service. I've delivered library books.
Wow.
I've done everything. It's just ridiculous what I've done. And it's a lot of work. And that's how I go. My father did the same thing. That's why we have no relationship. That's another story. There are bad things about doing the way I do it. I probably should have declared bankruptcy. I would have been out of it by now. Life would be good. I'd be like everybody else.
Hardest working man in show business.
Could be. If I was just working in show business, I'm the hardest man working in show business, but I'm not doing anything in show business. Yeah. So, but thanks for bringing that up. I think a lot of people don't even realize that. By the way, the point of the show was also not only to talk about how I support the band, but the point of it was to folks, you're losing your mind on Facebook. The hatred, the absolute hatred is like, wow, did you hear me when on the show I yell, hatred? I hate that orange man. I hate. Wow. And then when they protested, they did all that damage. Who does damage? Why are you doing damage? So it's just too much hate. What is it going to get you? You're standing, where are you that you're affecting it? You're not affecting anything. But a buddy of mine says, well, movements, marching is movements, and movements make change. And I go, all right, listen, you want to get on a bus, go away to D.C. and march, have fun. There's no bathrooms, so you're going to be in hell.
That Starbucks that they smashed might have had a bathroom.
Yeah. Was that? Yeah.
The Starbucks, did you see them smashing the windows? And?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, see, so that was the greatest place to go to the bathroom, and they destroyed it. Did you see that video where the 500 buses pull into this parking lot? It was a fast motion video. All these buses pulled in, and all the women got out for that million, whatever.
March?
Yeah,
Oh.
I posted underneath. It was on Facebook. I go, that's where are all the bathrooms? You just drove on a bus from New York, from wherever to DC. The first thing you got to do, you can't have 45 women peeing on a bus. It's not good. It's not going to be good. And those buses are going to sit there all day, and they're going to reek. And you know how the women are. They go, oh, that stinks. You didn't get it serviced? We've been out here for 3 hours destroying Starbucks. Why didn't you do this? So that had to be horrible.
I have seen a lot of interviews with I
used to be a bus driver, by the way, for Trailways. That's how I know. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have seen a lot of interviews with protesters, and they ask them, well, what is it that you're protesting?
Right.
And they can't seem to come up with an answer.
No clue. I'm here with my friend. I thought it'd be fun. We're gonna go to the outlet after this. That's horrible. See, that's
not that I don't support protest.
Yes,
if
peaceful
there's something
protesting.
you don't agree with, even if I don't agree with your view, I totally agree with your right to protest it.
Yeah. And by the way, great for the economy. You just hired 500 bus drivers.
Yeah.
Who would normally be doing nothing. Maybe they'd be on a ski charter. Because I used to be a bus driver, and I took union guys to D.C. Every time there was a union thing, well, there we'd be on a charter going to D.C. It's a 5-hour ride. It's fantastic. I make a lot of money.
But I don't support destroying property or violence or blocking roads. When they block highways...
what is that all about?
There's people that have to get places that it might be an emergency.
There was a pregnant woman on a video. Remember that? Yeah. By the way, somebody hit out. So let's do the opposing view of that. Somebody said to me, well, what about the Boston Tea Party when they threw tea into the bay? I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, that's a little violent. That's somebody else's tea, whatever. So, but smashing innocent people's vehicles, that has nothing to do with the protest.
No.
So listen, most of those women were not violent. Most of those women don't even know how to use a hammer. So, and I'm just joking, folks. I'm not trying to
expressed.
Yes. I'm not, Dave Kanyan. Go to Dumbing It Down with Dave. You can tweet me at Dumb with Dave. You can email me at dumbingitdownwithdave@yahoo.com. By the way, it's done with a B. People have a hard time with that for some reason.
They have a hard time spelling dumb.
Yeah, because they're dumb.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, I'm dumb. You know me. I openly admit I'm not that bright.
I love how you call your listeners dum-dums.
Dum-dums. That's a term of affection. A term of endearment. Yes. They enter my domain.
I don't have a nickname for, I guess, the Deplorables.
Deplorables is great. It's very current. It's fantastic. You're doing great.
I want to thank Hillary, by the way, for
giving
me this news.
Yes. Oh, sorry about that. That's my phone.
Your phone?
Yeah. Here come the tweets. Why don't you call your fans the Orange Crush or something like that?
Okay.
The Orange Crush. That's an old.
Also, getting back to the political thing, I don't want to get. I don't want to put out the idea that I'm too pro-Trump just because I call this a deplorable
Right. Yeah,
because I'm not. I think he was a horrible candidate.
Uh-oh.
I don't think we were given a good choice.
Yes, no, I agree with you. Right. By the way, my wife just texted me. Now, I hope she's not upset. Now she's going to text me. Don't mention me, so I'm not going to mention her name. She goes, really, I think most women do know how to use a hammer. Not funny.
Did you say how many years you've been married?
It could be 30, could be 31. We're not really sure. And by the way, that would be the total length of the marriage. Will be about 30, 31 years. I was like, I just also made another. The other day I went crazy. I had a lot of posts on Facebook. We are all waiting for Superman.
Right.
That's the problem. We're waiting for Superman, and he's never going to come.
I feel like the good candidates out there are too smart to run for president.
They work at Apple.
I feel like they know better than to run for president.
Yeah,
they know it's a mess.
They're in wrestling school. They're doing podcasts. They're making websites that make them money while they're sleeping. If you're smart, you're not going to go into politics. No. And it's ridiculous.
I met former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura one time. This was years ago, probably 6-7 years ago. I told him,
Jesse.
Yeah, I met him at a book signing, and I said,
"Hello, Governor."
I said to him, you should really run for president. You have this experience as a governor. I agree with a lot of your views. I think you should run for president. And he looked at me and he goes, that's a job that really takes your life away from you.
Well, if you look at the 4 years after, the 8 years after these, it's they don't age well. Bill's looking horrible, and the Bushes are looking horrible, and Donald, he's going to keep on eating that Kentucky Fried Chicken as he transverses across the country. I don't know how he's going to do it. He's not in that great shape right now, anyway. But Obama's looking good. He's out there windsurfing in Hawaii, but maybe that's because he didn't do anything for 8 years.
Did you watch the Super Bowl?
No, I did not. I heard you talking about that. I do know what happened, and I'm not a sports guy anymore. I had to get rid of sports a long time ago.
It was a great football game, but in the beginning, George H.W. Bush
did
the coin toss. It took him about 20 minutes to get to the 50-yard line.
Oh, really? They should have wheeled him out there ahead of time like they do with Don Rickles now, the late night shows. They just get him out there during the commercial. Really? They had to wait you had to push him out there?
Yeah, I think I tweeted while he was halfway there. I think I tweeted, delay of game, George H.W. Bush, 15-yard penalty.
That's very funny. No, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I don't watch any of these things anymore. The 3 or 4 hours, I used to watch a lot of NASCAR and stuff like that, baseball games, football games. And then a long time ago, I made a decision. I said, boy, I just spent 4 hours watching this, like the Jets and the Giants when they really were horrible. I just wasted my day. They lost again. I accomplished nothing. And then at some point, and then NASCAR was just like a time suck. Yeah. And anyway, so I stopped. Oh, the clock is telling us.
It is. It's ticking down. We only got a few minutes left here.
I have to go to Walmart and get flowers for my wife, and I got to get a hammer with a bow tie, with a ribbon around.
So your podcast is picking up steam. You've had how many listeners on your episode, My Sister Dina?
Number 52, My Sister Dina. Last time I checked was like 100 and I don't know how many listens, 116 listens, which is more than twice as many as any other of my leading show, which is like F. McFakebook.
I believe that episode came out around the time I started talking about it, so you're welcome.
Yeah, right. Excellent. Yeah, for some reason that show really... People found it somehow. I don't know what I did. Maybe that's the week I went on Tumblr, which I have no idea what I'm doing on Tumblr, but I'm on Tumblr.
I heard you mention on your podcast that you have a Tumblr, and
I'm getting everything, and I don't know why. I'm getting Reddit. I'm getting WhatsApp.
I didn't even know Tumblr was still a thing.
I don't even know.
I have one somewhere that I haven't touched in a while, and when I was on Tumblr, I didn't know.
I don't know
how to use it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I got to get the Tumblr for Dummies book. I have to get every Dummies book for every stupid app and every stupid, thing. I'm going to be on Pinterest before you know it. I'm going to be, this, who knows, Jason. But here's the thing. I never wanted to be the Mary Kay lady. I don't like doing that. I don't like promoting because it's like, I just want people to organically find me. And then our buddy Ethan Ullman told me one day from EthanUllman.com, and he's an alternative to sleeping.
I got to get him in.
And good friend with Brooke S. He said to me, Dave, if you think people are going to organically find you, if you don't tell people what you're doing, They're never going to ask you. People will never ask you. So I've gotten a little used to it. I still find it a little bit uncomfortable to say and promote because it's like...
He does have a great point. I do remember you telling me that you were thinking about making Dumbing It Down with Dave a podcast a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't look into it.
Right.
As far as I knew, it was just an idea you had.
Yeah.
And then you texted me that you were on like episode 50 or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. let me start listening to this.
But in the world of arts and entertainment, you do have to promote. You don't have to be the Mary Kay lady. You don't have to be the Avon lady. But you do have to maintain some sort of constant promotion and and community outreach and all that other stuff. And the website and the tweeting. It's just a pain. I don't like that end of it. I like the part where I just talk into a mic and have fun. And this has been fun, Jason.
Oh yeah.
I'm just waiting for you to. I know this.